A while ago I reviewed the Ioniq 5. This is the Ioniq 5N, a very different car in so many ways. Welcome to It's Only Electric. It's time for a full review of the 5N.
It's only electric.
Compared to the regular Ioniq 5, the 5N is 10 centimeters longer due to a new air diffuser at the rear. It's 5 centimeters wider, and that's due to a wider track and wider tires, and it's 2 centimeters lower, and that's the sport suspension with active dampers. Total length is 4.7 meters, the wheelbase 3 meters flat. Curb weight 2.2 tons. And to be able to back that beefy exterior up, it's equipped with 2 motors, so all-wheel drive, 2 permanent magnet motors, one at the front putting out 166 kilowatts, one at the rear putting out 282, so that one is more powerful. Combined output 478 kilowatts, 650 horsepower and 770 Newton meters of torque, and that's in boost mode. If you drive it regularly, you will have 609 horsepower only. 0 to 100, 3.4 seconds in boost mode. Without boost mode, 3.5 seconds. Top speed, 260 kilometers per hour. It's equipped with a NMC pack with a gross capacity of 84 kilowatt hours and a net capacity of 81. And you don't buy this car because of its range, because the certified WLTP range is 448 kilometers. That's not much for such a big battery pack, but I mean, if you look at the tires and the setup of the car, it's more or less normal. Charge port placed here at the right rear fender with a DC charging, fast charging capacity of 240 kilowatts. And this is something Hyundai is good at, because it's the 800 volt system, so 10 to 80% takes 18 minutes only. But will it really do that? We're going to test that in the upcoming video. I put the link up here when that's available. And home charging, 10.5 kilowatts, 3-phase support. And to be able to transfer all that torque down to the ground, it's equipped with 21-inch rims, 275s, 35s all around, so a non-staggered setup. In this case, running on Pirelli P0 tires, gives us a lot of stickiness. That extra horsepower also needs some extra braking power, so updated brakes here at the front, 400mm disc with a 4-piston monoblock caliper. A more aggressive looking frontal design here with the N badge here at the top, air ventilations here to take in and cool down the electronics inside, a sportier lower part with air diffusers and air intakes at the sides. The active air flaps is still present, so they open and close depending on the coolant the car needs. But all in all, more sporty, more aggressive, some red details, both here in the front and at the rear, to lift the car and to back up all that power. And underneath the sloping hood, there is no frunk. The aggressiveness continues here at the rear. As you see, a big air spoiler at the top with airflows both redirected underneath and on top of the wing. A sporty brake light here at the midsection of the wing, backup camera just underneath that, a blacked out Hyundai logo, the Ioniq 5 text on top of the transparent tail light, connecting the both sides. The red details continues here. This part, the rear lip, the air diffuser, is actually what adds the 10 centimeters to the car. A lot more aggressive, a lot more sporty. Another light at the lower part. When it comes to the practical things, and this is actually where it starts to get even more interesting, because the car is very sporty, it's very powerful, but it's yet practical, because in the boot here we have a storage capacity of 480 liters. It's a bit less than the regular Ioniq 5, but still decent storage. Underneath here there is limited extra storage, but a lot of cables, etc. can really fit here. And you have a 12-volt outlet, foldable seat. This partial shelf is removable, and you fold the seats from the front on the side levers here. So when you fold it, it folds totally flat. So it's practical. For loading, we're gonna look at the back seat because that's really impressive. And this is really where this car shines and excels, because if you look at the rear bench, you can actually move the position of it to create extra boot capacity or extra legroom. On top of that, you can also angle the backrest. This is the most straight position, very straight, almost 90 degrees. This is the most reclined position, very reclined, comfortable, almost a sleeping mode. Let me put that back to a normal case and see if we can fit here. Solid door sound, very solid door sound. You have luxury things like curtains in a sports car, that's nice. Legroom, the front seat is adjusted after my driver position. I'm not touching my knees. I can squeeze my feet underneath the front seat, even if it's a bit narrow, but plenty of legroom. When it comes to headroom, I'm not touching the headliner. It's 2 fingers of extra headroom in this reclined position. If I move it more straight up, I have even more headroom here because this is a higher part of the headliner. Good headroom and good legroom. Material-wise, comfortable seats. These are a bit to the stiffer side, but support my weight in a good way. And thigh support, as usual, not perfect in EVs, but decent for this car class. Material-wise, the Ioniq 5N is really nice. I mean, you have this leatherette on the door sides. It's cushioned, soft touch, almost everywhere. The lower dome parts is hard plastics. You have pockets for bottles, etc. But good materials. Convenient features. Air vents in the B-pillars. No air vents here at the central compartment, but it holds 2 USB-C ports for the rear passengers. Normally you tend to have them on side of the seats, but since this is the sport bucket seats, there is no built-in USB-C ports into them. So you will use the ones here in the mid-console. There is no rear pockets for storing cables and phones, but you have pockets here at the door sides. Mid armrest, well cushioned with 2 small cup holders, non-adaptive. Individual headrests, adjustable height-wise only, but also well cushioned and supportive. So as a summary, the back seat of the 5N is as good as in the Ioniq 5, the regular version. A lot of space for your legs, for your head, and you will really, as a grown-up, have a pleasant travel in the 5N. And to the interior at the front. Material-wise, at the top, hard plastic surrounding the head-up display. Some cushioning here, kind of rubberized materials with some built-in with some stitching on top. Dual screen setup, so instrument cluster 12-inch, central media screen also 12-inch. To the left of the instrument cluster there is a built-in speaker. The dash consists of another small screen for controlling things like AC. Just above that there is a control panel with shortcuts. First off, to the left you have the volume knob, a home button, a map button, search functions, so in general, functions mapped to shortcuts on the screen. The star is a customizable button, so if you long press that one, you will be able to map that to your wanted function. Very neat. And a start and stop button here, you still need to use that one. And to one of the differences, and that's the mid-console. This is a different mid-console than you get in the regular Ioniq 5. It's empty in this place. So this is more of a sturdy build and race adapted build. So on top we have a Qi charger, rubberized Qi charger, and a place to put your phone, 2 USB-C ports, you can toggle between charging only or charging and data on the port to the left. The one to the right is a regular powered port, and most further to the right there is a Qi charger indicator actually showing you the progress of the charging. Next to that there is two hardware buttons, one for activating or deactivating the camera view, park assist view, and the parking sensors. Underneath that there is another USB-C port and a 12 volt 180 watt output, some storage, and two adaptive cup holders. A central armrest with a adjustable depth. You can adjust it like 5 centimeters in a difference to adapt it after your length of your arm or the position of your seating. It's openable, so we have a small amount of storage in that one. It's fairly hard, but still cushioned enough not to give you any elbow pain. So all the storage in the car is actually deep with bezels around it to keep the things in place when you drive it on a track. So that's the practical aspect of it. I mean, if you put things here, they will not fly away and you will be safe as a driver. And to the next obvious change, and that's the steering wheel. This is the end steering wheel. It's a bit oval shaped, so not totally round. A bit strange decision, but it looks really, really good, and it's so practical because you have so many buttons on it. To the left, you have the controls for the driver assist functionality, and every button over the whole steering wheel is a dedicated hardware button. There is no way you can hit the wrong button. It's very easy to feel around. There's no haptic touch. They have very clear backlighting, very user-friendly. To the right, we have the media controls. So volume control, toggle songs, mode selector, voice control, phone calls, and another star. And star means customizing. So if you long press it, you can change it and map it to your favorite feature. On top of that, we have the NGB button, and that's the N green boost mode. And that's the mode, that's the button that for 10 seconds activates the extra horsepower. So when you press that one, you will have 650 horsepower available for 10 seconds. So it's kind of a launch mode. To the left, the blue button called the dry mode is the dry mode selector. Underneath the controls, you have two dedicated N buttons, and you can also map those to your favorite features. So if you look here at the screen, we have the left N button currently is mapped to the N mode selection, which means it toggles to your favorite N mode. So you have a customizing screen for that. So if I press it, you will see the N menu. This is the custom one menu where you set things like the behavior of the motor, the steering stiffness, the suspension or the adaptive dampers, the ECS, the head-up display. A lot of things is customizable. So this is actually the way of jumping into your favorite custom settings for the N mode settings, not for the regular dry modes. So this is a step above that. And the N button to the right is currently mapped to the activation. Let me see here, right N button to the N E-shift. That means that it turns on the engine sound or the motor sound, the fake motor sound, and the E-shift functionality, which means that it mimics a traditional sporty combustion engine. So you need to use the paddles to shift the gears. And this is the most exciting thing about this car. And we will have a look at how that actually works and what I think about it when I do the drive test. Behind the steering wheel, there is two paddles and they have two rolls. Normally, you adjust the amount of recuperation with those. But when in N-shift mode or E-shift mode, they act as regular gear selectors. You have three stalks to the left, of course, handling of the lights. To the right, you control the windshield wipers. The third one is the gear selector or the drive mode selector. And to the last part before I take this monster for a drive, and that's the seat. It's equipped with the cup bucket seats, so sport seats, very traditional sport seats, so all controls are manual. There is no electronic controls of it. It has airbags, of course, on the sides, but this means that it's very supportive. High bolsters on the sides of the seating position. Also a lot of bolsterings on the sides here, so it gives you a lot of support for some track driving. The headrests are static, so there is no possibility to adjust the headrest. And the M badge lights up during nighttime. Besides being sporty and supportive, they also bring some extra space at the rear because they are thinner and takes up less space than the regular seats. So the first immediate feeling you get when start driving the 5N is the harshness of the suspension, the sportiness and the drive feel. Normally Hyundai makes soft and comfortable cars. That does not go for the 5N because the suspension is another level. I mean, it's very harsh, it's hard, it's a bit noisy, and all that to keep the car in place and to support all that power. And it is not only the dampers, it is also, I mean, the wide tires, the low profile tires. It's harsh, it's a harsh ride, so don't expect anything else. This is all in to sportiness. Even if you put the active dampers, so the suspension to normal, that's the lowest level or highest level of comfort actually. So normal, sport, sport plus. And I mean, that's the case. And you also really get a added amount of cabin noise because of the tires. You hear the obvious difference when comparing it to the regular Ioniq 5. So all the things about comfort is really not there anymore. It's a totally different car. And when it comes to drive modes, you have a dedicated drive mode selector on the left side of the steering wheel on top of the control buttons. And that's the way you toggle between the three different drive modes. So you have Eco, Normal, and Sport. So when you put it into Eco, it's really struggling to pick up power. It takes time. I think it takes seems to never come to the full power mode. Doesn't give you all that 609 horsepower. It builds up the power really slowly, very steadily, and it's a really comfortable acceleration curve. And in Eco mode, you can also, in the settings, tell it to activate Eco mode when it comes to the climate control. So that's the way you save energy with this car, but you won't save energy. I mean, it's still going to be a thirsty car because that's the setup. The next mode is Normal. And when switching over from Eco to Normal, you really feel the car waking up, picking up power immediately. Even if you don't change the position of the accelerator, it feels like it gets released somehow. And you get a lot more power in Normal, and it's really, really quick in Normal. And it's a big difference. But it's still slowly building up the power. It doesn't just push it in and explode. It's kind of a progressive acceleration curve. So still a comfortable mode. And the last drive mode is called Sport. Then it gets a bit more immediate, a bit more responsive than in Normal. Even if Normal is responsive, in Sport it gets a notch up. So these drive modes are like in most other EVs. If you compare it to a Tesla Model Y, you're having a drive mode, so you just have Chill and Sport. This is something similar. I mean, it's still a normal EV. Everything feels normal. You don't feel the NDNA yet. And to be able to feel the NDNA, you need to activate the N modes. And now I have a shortcut to the left side here where I activate my custom settings. I can show you my custom settings, and that's, let's see, setting the motor to Sport Plus, the steering to Sport Plus, the suspension to Sport because it's still harsh, ELSD to Sport Plus, ECS to normal, the HUD to normal, let me toggle that to Sport, and NAS Plus to ignition, that's the sound profile. And it also remaps or changes the graphic in the instrument cluster. So now it's in the N mode. And it immediately gets a bit more aggressive. And this is on a low suck. I only have a stereo charge of 37% because, to be honest, I have a hard time stop driving this car because it's so engaging, it's so fun to drive. When you push it, it's so stable, but it's so wild at the same time. If you start turning off the ECS, for instance, if you set that one to Sport, it starts letting you do stuff you can't do normally. And it really throws the rear end and lets the car spin a little bit more. Letting go of some of the control systems and stabilization systems, at least for a couple of seconds, to give you some more amount of fun. So this is interesting. But let me activate the coolest feature, and that's the manual shift mode called EN shift or NE shift, I think. I press that one, then it also activates the sign profile, ignition. Now it's an automatic, so if I press the accelerator, it will shift the gears for me. As you hear, yeah. But I want to do it manually. Now I shift it down. Do you hear the compression sound? Let me shift up. And the cool thing is that it really mimics all the attributes of a combustion engine, of a very aggressive combustion engine. Because if I shift the gear in higher speeds or in higher RPM, it will really, you feel the shifts, because it's slamming in the shifts. And I shift down and it gives you some explosions in the exhaust, the fake exhaust, because the speakers at the rear, so the sound actually comes from the rear, mimicking a real exhaust. Shift down to the first gear. If I floor it now, it will hit the limiter and it will cut the power. So if I don't shift, it keeps it in that mode. So it keeps limiting the revs in a very exciting way. This is so much better than I thought it would be. I really thought that this mimicking of a ICE car wouldn't make any sense. But it does. It does. It feels like a 8-gear manual shifter with a lot of power. It's so strange to say that. And I thought I would test it once and then go back to the regular drive modes and avoid all that sounds, etc. But I won't. 90% of the time, I mean, I tried to go back to the normal drive modes, to Eco for instance, but then after 2 minutes, I feel going back to the shift mode, the manual shift mode. To the right of the steering wheel, on top of the buttons for controlling the media, you have a red NGB button, and that's the function for letting go of the extra horsepower. So then the car goes from 609 HP to 650. And that's kind of a launch mode, and it's active for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, it limits the output power again. And that's a sick amount of pressure you get from that acceleration. And it's very aggressive, it's so immediate, it's so punchy. This is Tesla Model Y performance punchy. There's no delay. It just gives you all the power immediately. And that makes this car so two-faced and interesting to drive. I must say that this is one of the most interesting cars I ever tried, ever. It's such a different take on how a EV actually works. It's such a different take to like give the driver some extra control, more feeling, more fun, but it's all artificial at the same time. And when it comes to the steering, it's direct. I mean, I have it on steering plus. If I set it to normal, it gets much more soft. You need to turn the steering wheel more than you have to in sport. In sport, it gets a lot more direct and a bit more torque. I would have wished for even more torque, a bit more resistance when turning the steering wheel, because it's still not super stiff. I have to push it. It's so tight. It is so tight in the corners. I mean, it's hard losing control when you have the ECS on and in sport. But as soon as it gets, let me turn off the sound. But as soon as it gets a bit wet, damp roads, then it's getting really naughty because you can't lose control. I did that with the EV6 GT. That has the same motor setup. Also very aggressive when you set or turn off the ECS or set it to sport and it's damped outside. You can really lose control easily. And that happened to me. Fortunately, I didn't crash with the car. But first off, I lost the front axle. And then I lost the rear axle. That was a very different behavior. Let us move over to the last section that we haven't talked about now when it comes to driving dynamics. And that's the regenerative braking. First off, I need to go to the eco mode to show you the different settings. And now the paddles actually act as the regen adjustment paddles. So there is a couple of different levels. And first off, that beeping is because I've tried to change the recuperation level when pressing the brake pedal. And that's not allowed. You can't change it then. You need to roll or let go of the brake. So first off, there is something called level 0. This is level 0. It's coasting. You can increase that to level 1, very low level of recuperation. Level 2, kind of a mid recuperation, doesn't come to a full stop. Level 3, a bit more aggressive, still doesn't come to a full stop. Level 4 is the max mode called iPedal mode, and that's the one pedal driving. So if I let go of the accelerator, it's a fairly aggressive regen and it comes to a full stop. Very smooth, nice. This is one of the strongest points of Hyundai and Kia, because there's so many settings and it's so good implemented that you can find your way of driving your EV. It really makes it easy, and it really makes it good for the driver. If you want a car that you want to customize, that you will want to find your own way of driving a electric vehicle, then I think Hyundai or Kia in general is a really good bet. Because the implementation and their view of electric vehicles is really superb. It's so good. So let me just try to summarize my experience, my view on the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. This is a different story. This is a totally different car compared to the Ioniq 5. If you compare it to similar cars with similar interior space and performance, not really, but almost, then you have the Tesla Model Y performance or Tesla Model 3 performance. They also have good interior space. This is a big car. And it's a practical car when it comes to boot and back seat, because it's really comfortable and versatile back seat. But for long trips, I think the 5N will be a lot more harsh, because the cabin noise is a bit higher. The roughness of the suspension makes it a bit more unbearable for long trips. You can do it, but the range is also not really on par. Instead, you charge it really fast. So the 800 volt system really makes up for that partly, but it's still not perfect for long trips. And it's so far from the Ioniq 5, because that's a very comfortable car. This is a driving machine. This is a concept. This is a very rough car in a good way. And it's so thought through from Hyundai. Everything seems to have a purpose, especially the implementation of the software, the implementation of how they utilize the electric drivetrain for doing something that no one else is doing currently. I mean, you have the track mode on a Model Y, on the Model 3 Performance, but it is not the same thing, because you have kind of the same settings here, but this is a different thing. The implementation of the gear shifting, how it revs, how it sounds, the sound profile. When you hit the rev limiter and it really cuts the power, you feel the different kind of power you have during the different levels of rev. Also, an extremely good way of mimicking a real combustion engine. I've said it before, but I thought it would be so unnecessary, a really strange thing to do when you build an AV. But at the same time, it makes total sense. And I think this is something that will evolve. I think this is something that some people may want, because it really fills kind of a space that no other EV does today. And I think that's the purpose of the 5N. The purpose to catch those petrol heads that are on the verge of switching to EVs. This may be that car for you that want to have a car that really, really makes up for the loss of the driving experience. Because the 5N brings that to the table. And the price, here in Sweden, 835,000 Swedish crowns. That's the starting price for the base version of the 5N. But that includes a lot of the things that this car has. So it comes kind of fully packaged. That's around 78,000 euros. So it's not a cheap car, but you get a lot for that money. I mean, there is really not any direct competitor. I would say that the Tesla Model Y is the closest one, performance. The new one doesn't have a performance version available yet, so we will see how much that will cost and how rough that one will get. The 5N is another thing to drive. I mean, it's so more settled to the ground, it's so more stiff in the suspension, it's so more sporty, and all the dynamics, the sound, the feeling you get as a driver is a whole nother story, another level. So I think that's all for today. I've tried to express my view of the 5N for you guys after driving it for a week. And don't miss out the range, acceleration, noise, and charge test of this specific car. I put the link up here when that's available. So what's your view of the 5N? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Write questions. Let us have a discussion. My main question for you, does the 5N make any sense? And keep these features in mind. I mean, the shifting, the sound profile, etc. And share your thoughts. And to help me grow the channel, please also subscribe, like the video, and most importantly, stay electric. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.